because it's about time that this country had somebody running it that has an idea about money. When we have $20 trillion in debt and our country's a mess, you know, it's one thing to have $20 trillion in debt and our roads are good and our bridges are good and everything's in great shape. Our airports are like from a third world country. And we have a country that needs new roads, new tunnels, new bridges, new airports, new schools, new hospitals. And we don't have the money because it's been squandered on so many of your ideas.
Let you
and
respond,
maybe
and we'll move to our
because
next.
you haven't paid any federal income tax for a lot of years. And the other thing I think is important.
It would be squandered too, believe me. 4,000 people in Chicago have been killed. We have to bring back law and order. Now, whether or not in a place like Chicago you do stop and frisk, which worked very well, Mayor Giuliani is here, it worked very well in New York, it brought the crime rate way down. Communities are being decimated by crime.
Your 2 minutes expired, but I do want to follow up. Stop and frisk was ruled unconstitutional in New York.
African American and Hispanic people, and it's very unfair to them what our politicians are allowing to happen.
Secretary Clinton.
Well, I've heard Donald say this at his rallies, and it's really unfortunate that he paints such a dire, negative picture of black communities in our country.
Having given lots of thought to NATO, but two things. Number one, the 28 countries of NATO, many of them aren't paying their fair share. Number two, and that bothers me because we should be, yes, we're defending them and they should at least be paying us what they're supposed to be paying by treaty and contract. And number two, I said, and very strongly, NATO could be obsolete because, and I was very strong on this, and it was actually covered very accurately in the New York Times, which is unusual. And believe me, you were the ones that took out the troops. Not only that, you named the day. They couldn't believe it. They sat back probably and said, I can't believe it. They said, no, wait a minute.
We've covered
when they formed, this is something that never should have happened. It should have never happened. Now, you're talking about taking out ISIS, but you were there and you were Secretary of State when it was a little infant. Now it's in over 30 countries. And you're going to stop them? I don't think so.
Mr. Trump, a lot of these are judgment questions. You had supported the war in Iraq before the invasion. What makes your judgment?
I did not support the war in Iraq.
2002.
That is a mainstream media nonsense put out by her because she, frankly, I think the best person in her campaign is mainstream media.
My question is, since you
would you like to hear?
Why is your
I was against the war. Wait a minute. I was against the war in Iraq, just so you put it out.
The record shows otherwise.
The record does not show that.
Why is your judgment?
The record shows that I'm right. And Sean Hannity said, and he called me the other day, and I spoke to him about it. He said you were totally against the war because he was for the war.
Why is your judgment better than?
And that was before the war started. Sean Hannity said very strongly to me and other people, he's willing to say, but nobody wants to call him, I was against the war. He said, you used to have fights with me because Sean was in favor of the war. And I understand that side also, not very much because we should have never been there. But nobody called Sean Hannity. And then they did an article in a major magazine shortly after the war started, I think in 2004, but they did an article which had me totally against the war in Iraq. Said it's a terrible and a stupid thing. It's going to destabilize the Middle East, and that's exactly what it's done. It's been a disaster.
My reference was to what you had said in 2002, and my question was, why is your judgment any different than Mrs. Clinton?
Well, I have much better judgment than she does. There's no question about that. I also have a much better temperament than she has. You know, I have a much better. She spent, let me tell you, she spent hundreds of millions of dollars on an advertising, you know, they get Madison Avenue into a room, they put names, temperament, let's go after. I think my strongest asset, maybe by far, is my temperament. I have a winning temperament. I know how to win. She does not know how to win.
Clinton.
Wait, the AFL-CIO the other day behind the blue screen. I don't know who you were talking to, Secretary Clinton, but you were totally out of control. I said, there's a person with a temperament that's got a problem.
Secretary Clinton.
Woo, okay. Let's talk about two important issues that were briefly mentioned by Donald. First, NATO. You know, NATO as a military alliance has something called Article 5, and basically it says this: an attack on one is an attack on all. And do you know the only time it's ever been invoked? After 9/11.
The stamina. I said she doesn't have the stamina, and I don't believe she does have the stamina. To be president of this country, you need tremendous stamina.
The quote was,
you
I just don't think she has
wait a minute, unless you
presidential
asked me a
look.
question. Did you ask me a question? You have to be able to negotiate our trade deals. You have to be able to negotiate, that's right, with Japan, with Saudi Arabia. I mean, can you imagine we're defending Saudi Arabia, and with all of the money they have, we're defending them and they're not paying? All you have to do is speak to them. Wait, you have so many different things you have to be able to do, and I don't believe that Hillary has the stamina.
Let's let her respond.
Well, as soon as he travels to 112 countries and negotiates a peace deal, a ceasefire, a release of dissidents, an opening of new opportunities in nations around the world, or even spends 11 hours testifying in front of a congressional committee, he can talk to me about stamina.
There's nothing of hers there. There's no reason for her people to come get things that are there. And clearly she had a notepad. Bait, not a something you would have a notepad for. Now see, his is clearly empty. I guess they both got notepads, but his is clearly empty. Here's another look at Hillary's. Now watch, here's one of Hillary's people come up and take one thing. About 4 different people come up and take things from here. Looks like he's disconnecting wires, and he picks up like a tape recorder. She's clearly involved as a lookout. Now he tries to come back a couple of minutes later, and he gets spooked away by this lady with the camera, press. And this guy's clearly, this guy that I'm circling with the arrow is clearly like a lookout.
The audience here in the room has agreed to remain silent so that we can focus on what the candidates are saying.
Look at this guy's eyes. Is he looking at Clinton? No, he's doing something sneaky. Here comes someone with the camera, so he can't do it right now. And notice there's another agent that's with him and is keeping the cameraman from getting too close to him and telling him, here comes the camera. He's not worried about Clinton. What he's worried about is this camera, seeing this guy. So this guy leaves for a moment. And here we got Wicked Bill, Wicked Willie, back here. Here's a lookout in the green dress, getting more involved. Briefing up on the podium to try and get whatever that is and try to offer some shade, some backup so no one can see what's going on. This is what he'll do. Keep watching. Not worried about his wife, not worried about nothing. He's looking at the side of his eye. Wicked Willie's not worried about meeting people. He's just worried about his entourage and what they're doing over by the podium. Gives a thumbs up here. Now they go in and grab the final pieces of evidence. Another Watergate. There it is. Notice how they made a big group. Joni grabs this last thing. You'll see it's a box. Another big thing they get out of there. There's a lot of big pieces of equipment under there. I'll play it over a couple of times. Just watch it. See what's going on. It's no trick of your eyes. It's what's going on. All of a sudden, these people around them got their back now that there's nobody to worry about except the cameras. Believe your eyes. All of a sudden, they're right on their back. Conspiracy and cover-up. Crooked Hillary and Wicked Willie. You know, it's interesting how they customized her podium for her. They made it smaller. They wouldn't give a stool, but they said they'd make her podium smaller so she can deceive everybody into making her look as big as him. And you'll notice in all the pictures she looks as big as him. And what the hell is this big cavity they could have hit a microphone in? Or a speaker? There's that girl that walked out with them. Whispering in his ear. I'm sure those are all their cheating little Democratic establishment cronies in the front rows. They've probably been planning on practicing on how to do this for the last week rather than practicing speech.
Okay, I wanted to make a quick video showing how Hillary used a teleprompter at the debates. Okay, so look at this white light here. And notice how there's a white light, looks like it's slanted towards Hillary's face. And there's this separator, almost like it's some kind of secret compartment or something. And it's separated from her notes here. So just watch. Did you see that? Now the light's black. Where'd the white light go? Watch this, it fades away like a phone screen. Did you see that? I'll play it in slow motion. It fades away just like a phone screen turning off. She had some sort of electronic light on her podium, and we can actually assume that is not a light for reading because you can see her notes down here, but then there's actually a separator in between the light and her notes, so it's not a light to point to her notes. It's a light pointing directly into Hillary's face, and it's white, like a white background for reading off a teleprompter. Slow motion, watch this white light right here. It's about to turn black. See? Slowly fades away. Her teleprompter turned off on live TV, and the cameras caught it. And there's also another part I'll show in another video I'm about to make, so stay tuned for that.